One of my fondest and oddest memories as a child was when my father used to take me fishing. I never understood fishing. I never got that. To this day, I don't understand it. But my father kind of thought that the only way to bond with me was to take me fishing. And he was right. There were no other options. I never understood fishing. You capture a live thing, hook it by the mouth, make it bleed, and then throw it back into the water and say, that was fun. I don't quite get that. I suppose if it's a large fish and then you eat it for dinner, I guess it's okay, but I don't want to eat what I just captured. I'd rather a butcher or somebody else take care of that for me, or a baker or a candlestick maker. I'm not into killing my own food. It's one of the dilemmas of my life is eating animals. I can't, but I do. I can't, but I do. I don't know, it's kind of odd. So my father, one Sunday morning, he somehow found a plaid shirt and put it on, because you can't go fishing without a plaid shirt. It's just not right. I was probably about 10 years old, and he said, Ron, let's go fishing. And I said, I don't want to. He said, come on, let's go. So he rents this little boat, and it's like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and it smells outside. I don't know if you've gotten up in the summer at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning to sit on a pond. It stinks. It smells. There's a pungent odor of dead fish. It's not a pretty thing at all. It's a disgusting atmosphere. So we get in this boat, and the bottom of the boat is soggy. And I'm telling you, at 10 years old, I wasn't into soggy then, and I'm not into soggy now. There's nothing soggy that I like. Soggy bread is disgusting. Soggy socks? That's dangerous. I don't like soggy. The bottom of the boat was soggy. Everything smelled soggy. I like moisture to an extent. Just a little bit of moisture is okay. An overwhelming amount of moisture, that's soggy. So we get in the boat. My father doesn't know how to fish, really. I don't think he had ever really fished before. Maybe he did once when his father took him on a boat in a pond, but not me. So we get in the boat, and it's soggy. And he says, Ron, get out your little fishing pole. He bought me a little fishing pole. I don't know if he bought it for me or rented it. I don't really remember. My memory is a little bit foggy because of all the marijuana in college that I did. So some brain cells were destroyed back then, and apparently said, I've had it with him. I'm not coming back. This guy's destroying us brain cells, and we're just done with him. I think that was the problem. And watch out, kids. You get into marijuana right now, it's going to destroy your brain cells. You think it just makes you happy and mellow and all that kind of stuff. It destroys your brain cells. It does. I'm telling you. Go on, try it. I don't care. Go on, do it. I don't care. Destroy your brain cells for all I care. Anyway, so we get in a boat, and now he's teaching me how to take a worm and spear it onto a hook. I'm taking a squirmy worm, and I'm putting it on the end of a sharp hook. My biggest concern is not only for the worm, which is a living thing, because it's kind of fighting for its life by squirming around, but it's like I could get my finger stuck on the hook. That's a sharp little item there. Finally, he helps me get the worm on the hook. I don't know how he does it. I don't think he's ever done this before. And then he teaches me how to cast the line into the pond water. I don't know why they call it casting, but they do. My immediate thought is someone's going to get hurt here. There's a sharp hook at the end of a flailing piece of thread. Someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to lose an eye. I mean, when you're casting that sharp little hook, you're flinging a sharp hook over your shoulder on some type of a piece of thread into the water. Someone's going to get hurt with that. Flailing hooks are not a good idea. They call it fly fishing, and I think the reason is if you throw that hook around, you're going to catch it on your fly, and that's going to hurt a lot. Anyway, so we're in the boat, my father and I, stinking of pond scum, dressed in plaid. We're soggy, throwing little squirmy worms around on the end of hooks. And then we're sitting there. The worm is on the hook is in the pond, and we're just sitting there. And he looks at me and I look at him, and we both without talking, we're both saying, this sucks. If there were little bubbles over our head that verbalized what we were thinking, similar to cartoons and comics, it would say in the bubble, this sucks. We were forced to have conversation, and I can't remember what it was because of the brain cell problem. But we just sat there. We sat there for probably an hour, and nothing was happening. We're just looking at soggy lily ponds, and we're hearing frogs in the background croaking and making noise and mocking us both. And finally, there's a little tug at the end of my fishing line, and my father suddenly gets into combat mode and says, Ron, you got a fish. And I said, that's what I'm doing. He says, no. I mean that as a noun. You've got a fish at the end of your line. Oh, see, that's the problem, Dad. They take a word and they make it both a noun and a verb at the same time. That's stupid. That confuses me. So, he says, just pull the damn thing in and stop being so grammatical at the age of 10. So I start pulling on it. There's not much resistance. I don't know if I've just captured a boot, a dead body, or perhaps a Chinese guy. Why do I say that? Because I believed through what I was taught or what I heard that if you go deep enough into the core of the earth, you'll end up on the other side of the earth, which would be China. And specifically China. I mean, that was what I was led to believe, that if you pulled hard enough through the center of the earth, a guy with one of those rice field hats would be on the other end, and I would have a direct tunnel to China. That was the theory at that time. I don't know. The brain cell thing again. So I'm pulling on the fishing rod and reel and line and hook and worm and everything, and I start to see a little splattering in the water, and I reel the thing in, and my father says, "Oh my God, Ron, you caught a fish," noun. And I said, "Oh my God, it was a tiny little sunfish." I didn't know what a sunfish was. My father said the word sunfish. I guess he knew what it was. It's a flat little fish, no bigger than the size of your knuckle. It's very, very tiny. You can't skin it and fry it and eat it because it would be like just maybe half a bite of food. The sunfish had an odor to it that I had never experienced before. It was like pond scum times 10. And it just reeked horribly, and it was flapping around, and I felt so sorry. Why are we doing this? Why are we maiming this thing? For what, Dad? For what? What was the purpose of this? And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and the fish was floundering about, even though it wasn't a flounder. And the fish looked at me, and I looked at the fish. And the fish looked at my father, and my father looked at me, and my father looked at the fish. And the fish looked back at me, then over back to my father. Then we both looked at the fish. And without saying a word again, we all realized, my father, myself, and the fish, that this was freaking ridiculous. Just freaking ridiculous. Just ridiculous. There was no point to this whatsoever. There was no sport, no joy. People were getting hurt. Fish were getting maimed. We were getting soggy. So my father took the fish, unhooked the hook from the fish's mouth, which is not easy to do. Once that hook's in there, it's in there pretty good, unless you're ripping the jaw of the fish off. It's a disgusting sport. We threw the fish back in the water. Probably the fish reached its demise somehow on the bottom of the pond. How would you like it if someone threw a sharp hook into your jaw, into your cheek, looked at you and said, okay, that was fun, tore your cheek off, and then threw you back into the water? Is this an experience that you would find delightful? This is called fishing for fun. Oh, man. Makes bowling for dollars look like a sport. I never fished again in my life. I doubt my father ever had a fishing pole in his hand ever again as well. And this sunfish probably had one hell of a story to tell the other fish in the school. By the way, why do they call large amounts of fish, why do they call them schools? I don't understand that. Have they learned something here? Was there some type of lesson, a teachable moment for all these fish in this school? I mean, why do we assign these odd human environments to fish? It's a school of fish. Why? Why are you saying that? Why are you using that word? Why are you taking a school and applying it to a definition of a large number of fish? What's with you? Who did this? Was there some kind of guy or woman at some point in history and said, what are we going to call a group of fish? Why don't we just call it a group of fish? No, that's not good enough. We need to make it sound like, wow, it's like we came up with a word for it. Just call it a group of fish. What's your problem there? You've already screwed this up. You call a large amount of birds a gaggle or something, and then you call you got words for everything. You got a den of lions. A den of lions? What are you talking about? What the hell does that mean? A den of them? What are they, in your basement watching TV in the den? What are you calling it? Like a lion's den, a gaggle, a group? What are you? It's a school of fish, kids. We should call a large number of children a school. Under those circumstances, why not? Did you see that large school of children? Yes, there were about like 20 of them. Yes, this was a school of kids. It's a whole school of kids. Were they in school? No, that's just what we call them. That's what you call a group of kids, a school of them. Odd. We're very odd people. Actually, you're very odd. I'm just fine. I find these things to be ridiculous. You're the odd ones.
You are listening to Ron Van Dam, the gentle, fast-acting laxative of the podcast world. Don't you feel better already?
Laxatives are wonderful. If there's anything that a human being should love, it's to have their system cleaned out. I think it's fantastic. Can you imagine eating all that food, your digestive system turns it into excrement, and then it just sits in your body for days, just fermenting. I'm sorry I'm even talking about this, but this is what I do for a living. Talk about this stuff. When you go to the bathroom, hopefully it's your bathroom in your home or your apartment, whatever, and you sit down on the toilet and you dump that stuff. That's the solid waste dump system of your body. Am I going too fast for you? And that goes into the toilet bowl, and it stinks, and it's horrendous, and it's all different kinds of consistencies. But there's a huge amount of it. You've filled that bowl up, baby. and you turn around and just before you flush it, you look at it. Do you come to the conclusion that I come to? All that shit was in my body for hours and days, just sitting there. Look at that stuff sitting in the toilet bowl that I'm about to flush away. That was in my body, in that consistency, in that amount, sitting in my internal tube. Can you imagine? I've been carrying that shit around for a day, at least. And there it is in the toilet. That's got to be the most cleansing experience of your life. Emptying your body of what's in there. And I'm told that you haven't even emptied it. There's more in there in standby mode, still in the colon or whatever you call the thing. It's still there. And it's constantly being filled with that tube stuff. I dislike colonoscopies. I've had 2 of them in my life so far. On the earlier side, by the way. That's the problem with doing these radio shows and these interviews with doctors. They make you think too much about your body. Had I not done these interviews, I would have never thought about this stuff. But no, I have to know everything for some reason. So I had a couple of colonoscopies, and they're torturous in order to clean your body out. But when you do, you really feel like you've been cleansed. You've been extradited. Your body is clean. It's like a cleaning crew should go in there and start vacuuming. And they do. And they do. Cleansing is a wonderful thing. Think about it next time you go to the bathroom. Take a look at what you've just released from your body and be amazed at how the body works and how that stuff just would. It's like a woman giving birth to a child. Wow, I had a human being taking up all that space in my body. How's that possible? And how did I pass it through this little orifice? And how do I get it back if they annoy me? It's an amazing thing, nature it is, and the human system and the digestive system. Based on that revelation, we decided to set up an interview with Dr. Julie Gatza. We've spoken to her many times before. She promotes certain products that help your body get along. Yeah, she promotes them, sure. But as she does, we are learning about our body. She's an actual very popular doctor. So we're going to talk to her this morning, this afternoon, this evening, whenever you're listening to this thing. And it goes along the lines of what I was talking about. It's putting food in your body, then your body turns it into shit, and you poop it out. This process is quite annoying. Almost annoying as fishing, but nothing can be as annoying as fishing. I'm sure some of you listening to this program, wait a minute, that's not the end of the sentence. I'm sure some of you listening to this program love to fish. You find it invigorating, you find it challenging, you find it peaceful, whatever reasons may be, you like to fish. And that's fine. You are you, I am me. We don't have to agree on everything. We don't have to like the same things. If we did, there'd be no room to fish. If everybody loved to fish, every piece of water on the earth would be filled with boats, and that's not good for fishing. So be happy that other people don't like fishing. You have more space now. That's all I'm saying. This is not a complicated situation. It's physics is what it is. All right, is Julie ready? Dr. Julie Gatza joins us. She's co-founder of Florida Wellness Institute. We've spoken to her many times before. She is an expert in the field of taking care of our bodies and how we read our bodies and what we do with them. Subject today is extremely interesting to me. This has to do with bloating and indigestion and how our foods marry with our body. And if I know 5 people, and that's a stretch, all of them have digestion problems, bloating, or concerns. I actually talk about this stuff with people, believe it or not. It's so common. It's amazing when you start asking people. They say, yes, I also have these concerns.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I would say that it's probably the most common symptom that people have generally.
Yes. Do you think people always had these symptoms, or are we eating differently or stranger than we ever have before?
Yes, the latter. We're definitely eating differently. Our food's changed, and we're a sick, group in general, and it's because of the fact that we are having digestive problems.
And I guess there's a right way and a wrong way to eat, and that's where we start.
That's true. The first way to, handle this is don't eat so fast and don't put it all on your plate at the same time and gobble it down. We have enzymes that we make in our bodies to break down certain types of food, and when you put it all in at the same time, it's basically just an overwhelm, and there's no way those enzymes can break down the meal.
Oh. How slow should we be eating?
I mean, I'm not the kind of person that wants to count my chewing of my food, but if you were to take one meal and just find out how fast you really do eat it compared to trying to chew your food over 20 times, it's pretty amazing how fast we really do eat. And it's a matter of, we're always in a hurry, we're eating too much at the same time and piling it all on, and, we're eating to discomfort, not to almost full.
Yeah, eating has almost become an activity as opposed to a nutrition time. I know if I'm watching TV, I kind of have to eat something. And if I haven't eaten in a little while, I will gulp it down quickly. I seem to be hungry all the time. Is there a timing situation involved here?
Well, there's a number of factors involved. Is if we're not able to break down the food that we're eating, from bad habits and sick and stress and, the foods itself, we're not getting the nutrients from the food that we should be. So we should be making enzymes to break down our protein and enzymes to break down the carbohydrates and the fats. Well, you're putting it all at the same time and eating too quickly. That's just not going to happen. So protein should be eaten first. 20 minutes later, you can have the carbohydrates, and in between, you can put the vegetables.
See, this is making sense with this European attitude, because they take a long time to eat their meals, and they're in various small courses, and then they have a break time in between. That might be the trick, because I know they eat pasta, and I thought that was bad for you.
I know, me too, and I see a lot of foreigners come, and they've been in my practice and in town, and they're all slender when they arrive, and within 3 years, they look like us, muffin tops, they're bloated, the guys have gotten fat with dark circles under the eyes, the girls look just like Americans, and it's simply because they're now eating American food and eating too quickly and adopted our ways.
Okay, let me ask you a few questions here. Wow. Is alcohol a component? Again, in the Mediterranean countries, they drink a lot of wine and such. Is that good for the digestion or bad for the digestion? I've heard both.
It is both, and it's if you're drinking a small amount of wine with a meal, it's totally okay. It's just we generally don't have a half a glass to a glass of wine over the length of a meal, and that's it.
I see.
So
no, we don't.
People will do that, then they have their second one, and possibly their third, or they'll have the beer, and putting that in with the food once again competes with how you should be breaking it down.
Is it too late for a lot of us who men have this little thing in their belly that they're skinny, but the belly isn't, and a lot of people have indigestion problems and actually bowel problems from it as well. Is it ever too late to correct it, and can you correct it by changing your diet?
Yes, absolutely. It's never too late, and once again, it's never normal to have it. So if you have the little belly bloat more up high than low on the belly, which guys you'll usually see it easily, it means you're eating food you cannot break down. So that food is now fermenting in the gut. It's irritating the intestine, and your body's now using more energy to break down the food than it was getting from the food. So it's vital and important that people take high-quality enzymes to help break down their meals, because our food is altered and we have some habits put in that aren't so great.
Yeah. See, a lot of people take supplements in order to relieve that. There are tons of indigestion pills at all the over-the-counter pharmacies, but they kind of mask things. They don't solve them, I assume.
Well, it's absolutely true, and the other thing in the supplement world is they are not made equally. So whatever it says on the label, it's the quality of the supplement, not just what's written on the label. I've used one for years with my patients called Absorbade Platinum, and it has all the types of enzymes in there to help you break down the food. So if you are eating a bigger meal or you're having to eat quickly, you take more than one. Take 1, 2, possibly 3 if it's big. And then you start to feel better. You're not so bloated. You lose a bit of weight. You have more energy, and you go, maybe I could change this around a bit, and you can start to cut back your meals a bit, and you feel more full when you take these enzymes.
Okay, that's called Absorbade? Well, okay, that helps. Because I assume it's also not healthy to have these bloating and indigestion conditions.
I've treated chronic disease for almost 28 years, and digestion is the number one factor behind everything that people have.
Yeah, a lot of my friends are in actual pain. They actually start sweating, and they feel horrible. It's like, wow, that's like more than just a little bit of discomfort.
Yeah, and it's just a really bad sign, because it simply means that's worse is coming. That's the body basically saying, hey guys, something's not right. Yeah. You should handle this, not just keep doing the same thing.
Okay. Are we supposed to eat like little small meals throughout the day so we're not ravenous at any given point?
There's 2 different theories on it. Yes, and you don't have to. I mean, people just eat too much in general, and boy, it's so hard to change that habit. But if you slow it down a bit, if you take these enzymes, if you put a smaller portion on your plate, you'd be amazed that in 20 minutes after you've started the meal, you're just not as hungry. So, but if you put a big portion on your plate, then you feel compelled that you need to eat that whole portion, because that's sort of how we've all been brought up.
Sure. You don't want to waste food or even have it sit in the car on the way home.
That's right.
No, that's absolutely true. I guess the best resolve is to go to an expensive restaurant that you can't afford, where if you order like French fries, they'll just give you 2 fries and that's the end of it. It's those minimalistic restaurants there, like $50 for a little hamburger slider or something. Is there any truth to meat being harder to digest than, say, fish or chicken?
Yes. For sure. It's much more complicated, and it's one of the reasons that people say, I feel so much better when I don't eat red meat. There are, 2 thoughts on that, and I'm sort of middle of the road, because I've corrected patients for years that have eaten meat, and I've also helped people who didn't want to eat meat. So it's a matter of how can they digest it. If their digestion's not working and they're putting a steak in, it's going to sit there, ferment, cause this bloating and other, symptoms that they are unwanting. And, you got to take these enzymes or really, really severely change what's going on with your diet.
Sometimes even water makes me bloat. I'm supposed to drink a lot of water, and I bloat more with water. Is that real?
Well, it's also a sign that your digestion isn't in great condition.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Sorry.
All right. Thanks a lot. You've given me more information in one interview than I've probably had in a long time. Where do I get more information on this? I have a feeling everybody listening is going to want to continue this.
Well, they should get on the website called naturesources.com. And they should check out these enzymes. They come in different forms. Children can take them, and it gets more bang for your buck. You can actually absorb up to 70% more of your meal when you take these enzymes. So that means your body's going to actually use these nutrients, and you're going to feel a lot better. The other thing they can do is they can call a 1-800 number, which is 1-800-827-7656. And if they use the code radio, they can get some free samples or 20% off their first order.
Follow. That's great. How do we follow you there, Julie?
You know what? If you get onto Nature Sources, you can find a bit about me. I own the Florida Wellness Institute, so I'm sitting down here listening to the birds. Well, you guys are definitely cold up there, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of birds here, but not as many as you have, I know. It's always a pleasure to speak to you. We'll talk the next time, Dr. Julie Gatza. Thank you so much.
You as well. Have a great day.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, if that wasn't fascinating, I don't know what is. We don't condone nor endorse any products that are mentioned on this program. They're simply put out there for informational and entertainment's sake. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been just totally delightful. There are no prizes or anything for you stopping by, just the enjoyment that you feel listening to this program. Hopefully on a daily basis, every weekday, a brand new show. We're all over every device, NewEnglandBroadcasting.com, Spotify, YouTube, you name it. Bye. Wish you peace.